request all of you to kindly take your seats. हमारे फोटोग्राफर भाइयों थोड़ी जल्दी करेंगे, it'll be great. Without further delay, let me kickstart this beautiful evening by once again, on behalf of Karnavati University, United World Institute of Design and Apnu Ahmedabad, welcome you for the inauguration of Ahmedabad Design Week 3.0. My name is Preeti Das. I'm a former journalist, an academician, a storyteller, and a stand-up comic. And it has been 4 years in a row of hosting the Ahmedabad Design Week. And quickly to tell you, because Prahlad sir is here, the Design Week started with a brilliant brief given to us by our President Shri Ritesh Hada sir, जो हमारे साथ यहाँ पे बैठे हुए हैं. The brief was very interesting. It was a one-line brief saying हमें design के साथ कुछ करना है. शुरुआत वहीं से हुई. We started with the India Design Confluence. It became a brilliant 4-day festival, all thanks to the staff members of the United World Institute of Design, the students, and Karnavati University and Team Inauguration that's been working relentlessly on this brilliant property. Ahmedabad Design Week 1, followed by 2, and now here we are, Ahmedabad Design Week 3.0. A huge round of applause for the Design Week on the birthday of Ahmedabad today. Without further delay, I would request all our dignitaries to kindly inaugurate it by lighting the lamp. I request Team Innovation to please play the Saraswati Vandana. Ritesh sir, Durgesh sir, if you can also join the lighting of the lamp, please. Could you please have the Saraswati Vandana? Thank you very much. Ritesh, do stay on stage. We'd like to start with the felicitation process. I'd like to invite Ritesh Hada ji, President Karnavati University, and Shri Anil Agrawal ji to kindly felicitate General M.M. Narmane sir with a veena and a stole. तालियां बजती रहनी चाहिए ऐसे से. Let's please applaud, ladies and gentlemen, for these amazing dignitaries who've taken time out for us. Shri Anil sir, Anil Agrawal sir, to kindly welcome him with a stole. I request Shri Kamal Kishore Hada ji and Durgesh Agrawal, founder of DA Group, to kindly felicitate Air Marshal Ravindra Kumar Dheer sir. Talia, Talia, ladies and gentlemen, it's a beautiful Saturday morning. Air Marshal Ravindra Kumar Dheer sir. our third dignitary, who's sitting in a brilliant veshti, the man who is called the ad man of India. Ladies and gentlemen, I request Himanshu Sharma ji and Colonel Bose to felicitate Shri Prahlad Kakkar ji. Ladies and gentlemen, Prahlad sir. Thank you all, and delving straight deep into the program, I'd now like to invite, as we say, the brain behind Ahmedabad Design Week, the person who said कि design का कुछ करना चाहिए, and तब से that one line has resonated into 3 amazing festivals and a massive India design confluence. Someone who's always been supportive, who said कि जो करना है कर लो, सारा support है मेरा. So, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the President of Karnavati University, Shri Ritesh Haraji, for the welcome address.
Good morning, Namaskar, and Bharat Mata ki Jai. Bharat Mata ki! You know what? इन लोगों ने सोचा कि प्रेसिडेंट से कुछ काम कराया जाए. So I thought it is also a good occasion to take the stage for the first time in 15 years of running this university. And guys, what an occasion, and I am honored to take the stage for the first time in this university and to welcome what an august audience. Before I welcome our guests, Naravne Saab, Dheer Saab, and Surir Kakkar Saab, I would like to brief them a little about our university. Sir, we are a design-centric university, and like our Indian Army, we are unbeatable. We are unbeatable in the field of design, in the field of creative technology. What we have done is we have done the amalgamation of liberal arts. We have done the amalgamation of liberal arts with creative technology, creative thinking, and emerging technologies. Sorry, I've been fumbling. I'm not used to this. Excuse me for all this. पहली बार कर रहा हूँ यार, ताली बजाओ. See, this is what happens if you get a boardroom person to talk on the stage, right? So anyway, sir, so this university is very young, very versatile, but what I have in front of you are the students who are going to be the future of India, who are going to make this dream of Make in India come true through design in India. And this is our vision. This is our vision for the innovation that we bring in, the creative technology brings in, the investment that we bring in. We want to be the platform where, you know, all the patents, all the copyrights is not the legacy of the Western world anymore. We want to bring in the design, the innovation, and I was talking to the sir that now we see the reverse brain flow, means everyone used to go to America and work. Now the culture in India is changing. People are coming back. People are coming back to India, and we have seen it in the exhibition. People leaving McKinsey, people leaving Google, people leaving Microsoft, coming back and designing for this country. And this is what the spirit that we need, and this is what the spirit that our central leadership, our Prime Minister has envisaged, and this is what we will take it forward. So sir, thank you very much. Your presence will motivate each one of us to do things much beyond than what we are doing, and we seek support and blessings, and these students, I promise, will be the designer for the future in India. Thank you and welcome. And taaliyan bajti rehni chahiye. Ladies and gentlemen, huge round of applause for the guests in the house. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ritesh sir. Guys, तालियां बजती रहनी चाहिए. College के president हैं. Thank you so much, Ritesh sir. A man of very few words, he's very apprehensive to speak, but that was marvelous. Without further delay, I would like to call, as I said, the ad man, someone who I have read about being a student of Micah, who we look up to in terms of all his contribution to various campaigns to the social fabric of the country. Ladies and gentlemen, can I please invite Shri Prahlad Katkar sir to kindly address the audience. Let's hear it for Prahlad sir.
Thank you, ma'am. This was most unexpected. I was expecting my session to be tomorrow afternoon, and I was just gracing the stage because I have an olive green stripe running down my spine. I'm the third generation of people who were in the services. I was the one who escaped because I was a category, and I wanted to play polo, and I wanted the 61st, what you call cavalry, and they said they wouldn't give it to me because I had glasses. So I said, okay, then damn it, I'm not going to do it. So my grandfather, who was a Major General, my father, who was a Colonel, were extremely disappointed, but I don't think they would be disappointed now, wherever they are, hopefully. But it's a pleasure to see so many bright young faces, especially in the design field. It is one of the most critical areas of value adding in the world. Anything that can function better or is more valuable if it is designed because it's easier to use. So if you look at the Apple phone, you'll find that you pay a premium on it. Every other phone, regardless how good it is about 30,000 bucks. And you pay 60,000 rupees for an Apple. Why? Purely because of its design. And that is the kind of value that you will add to Indian industry, to our products, and to our defense services. So, defense being a very critical part. Today, we are sitting in a world which is extremely uncomfortable. A country which is supposedly a friend of ours has invaded another country, and everybody who's been talking from the West about how much in solidarity that they stand with the Ukraine are now just standing on the side. What we don't realize is what it bodes very badly for us is the fact that Russia today is funded by China. And China is already sitting on our border. So if Russia is funded by China, then Russia is going to stand on the side and watch China trying to take panga with us. So this is the time when we need to buck up and face the difference in design and in operation capabilities between our two nations. We are the two most populous nations on earth. We are still lagging behind as far as our defense ability is concerned, not in terms of our josh or our manpower or willingness, but just in terms of technology. And hopefully, this course, which I think is absolutely premeditated, it is actually a little late, but however, it's good that it's come now, that we are looking at defense production and design within the country so that we are not dependent on anybody in the world. Because what happens, we've noticed in a couple of wars, is that when we take our armaments from another country and they decide that they don't want to support us at the last moment in the middle of a war, they will cut off all our supplies and we'll be left hanging. So the business of war today is not about protracted world wars. The business of the war today is economic. And it is a country's ability to sustain a war that makes it the winner or the loser. So as long as we are self-dependent on defense and on whatever we need for our soldiers to back them up to the hilt, because they are not lacking in josh, they're not lacking in fervor, they're not lacking in focus. We need to support them with the right kind of weaponization. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that, Prahlad, for bringing up, I think, something that's been on all our mind, but we were all like, baat kare ya nahi. Also, just to let you know, आपका session कल है, sir. So you're not escaping that for sure. But I would now like to invite the next speaker to grace the occasion. Ladies and gentlemen, can we please hear it for Air Marshal Ravinder Kumar Deep, PVSM, AVSM, VM, ADC retired, and advisor to the Gujarat State for Defence and Aerospace Industries. Ladies and gentlemen, please stand.
Respect to the people on the stage, all the invitees and young students of the university. Good morning and Jai Hind. National security is very, very essential for a nation. If one cannot contribute through the military, in the last so many years you have realized that a nation becomes strong and secure through pillars, and it's not only the military, but it is the economic might, the military power, diplomacy, and many other 7-8 contributing factors. However, today every one of us is very clear that self-reliance, and self-reliance which breeds from the need to exist, survival. The moment we have that instinct, the self-reliance, Atmanirbharta and Make in India will succeed. In Corona times, you have seen that to survive, the equipment which our nation could not or was not producing and was importing was produced here and supplied. National efforts ensured that we were well vaccinated. So from there, we move forward. And the will to survive and for the military to guard the country has been demonstrated very well in the last few years. The army has given befitting reply to our aggressors from the northeast in Ladakh and earlier at Doklam. Many things which are not known to the normal public, there is enough to have faith in the defense forces. But today, the industry and looking inwards for self-reliance is the most important, for which skill development is equally important. This is Design Week, and the emphasis which was laid on design is very critical. You must understand that any equipment or a weapon which we procure from abroad, the source code and the logic or the software is not given to us. And adaptability and flexibility of use of any equipment is very important. So if we master the design and we do it ourselves, then we can adapt it. We buy a weapon, let's say precision weapon, it is given along with one Western aircraft. But to break the codes, we have been adapting, our DRDO has been helping us, and we have been moving forward. Our scientist community is doing a wonderful job. Now the entrepreneurs, the industry, has to take the lead, and let me assure you, having been in the defense services, having worked in Ministry of Defense, and having done a lot of procurement for the defense forces, and now working with the government to develop industry. Our industry is strong. Gujarat is strong. Today you see so many universities, NFSU, RRU, DRDO association with our Gujarat University, creation of IDSR, and now the DRDO challenge coming to Karnavati University. This is the way to go forward. The industry and the universities, it is happening and it will happen. The government, the national leadership is all out to make in India and self-reliance possible. And this is the way things should move forward, and I am really pleased and glad that the ecosystem is developing. Being in Gujarat and having contributed towards building ecosystem, today the industrial output in India, the leading states are Gujarat, Tamil Nadu and Maharashtra with close to 17 to 18% industrial output. However, because of lack of DPSUs and other assets and aviation factories in our state, we were not having too much of defense contribution. But I can assure you, the way things are moving, the way country is moving, the way the defense forces and MOD and the national leadership is working together to make India strong and face any challenges in future. The things in Gujarat are happening. The ecosystem is changing. You can see the Defense Expo happening in Gandhinagar in the coming 10-12 days, and you will realize the kind of enthusiasm our industry is showing towards aerospace and defense. I can assure you, in the coming days, coming years, you will have components of civil space in our state. You will have maybe a good manufacturing leading company in our state. The things to come for future, the new technology is where we all have to concentrate. This is where the scientists, DRDO and other industry has to work together with the universities and create more and more funding for us to have the design of our equipment and new technology. The next few things to happen are in the field of drones, the civil drone industry and the military drone industry. I am a member, and so is I think Major General Jauhar here sitting. We are part of that group of youngsters who have formed Dronacharya through civil ministry help. And the way these people are working, you can't believe the contributions they are going to make for the nation in future. And second, few better technologies are semiconductors, in which there is a scope our nation is trying, and you will find soon in the coming years if we take part, and these 2-3 fields will give us new technologies for our future armament and our needs of the nation. Thank you, Jai Hind, and let's contribute towards making the nation more secure.
Thank you so much, Air Marshal Dees. Can we have another huge round of applause for Sir? Thank you so much, everybody. Also, the chief guest, whose inaugural address all of us have been eagerly waiting for. Without further delay, sir, we have a video for you that we'd like to play to welcome you to the podium. Can we kindly have the video, please? Team Inauguration.
Serve in the regular army of the Union of India.
Ladies and gentlemen, let the applause be deafening as I welcome none other than General M.M. Narwane, PVSM, AVSM, SM, VSM, ADC and Chief of Army Staff, Indian Army, to deliver the inaugural address for Ahmedabad Design Week 3.0. Ladies and gentlemen, let's keep clapping for General Narwane, sir. Woo!
Thank you. Sri Kamal Kishore Hada, Managing Trustee of the Karnavati Educational Trust. Sri Ritesh Hada, President Karnavati University. Dr. Suryavanshi, Vice Chancellor. Eminent dignitaries on the dais, distinguished guests, my fellow colleagues and veterans from the armed forces, business leaders, entrepreneurs, young scholars, friends from the media, ladies and gentlemen. A very good morning and Jai Hind. When I initially got this invitation to speak at the Ahmedabad Design Week, I was a little perplexed. Because when you talk of design, the first thing that comes to your mind is fashion design. And I was really wondering how I fit in into this whole scheme of things. But then when I delved a little deeper and did a bit of homework and Googled the university and its activities, and when I realized that the theme of the ADW 3.0 is actually design and innovation in the aerospace and defense sectors, that I realized that it is indeed a good platform to be able to come and talk to all of y'all as far as what is it that we would be looking for and require as far as design is concerned. That design is required and that it is a necessity, there is no doubt. There is a saying that no man steps in the same river twice, because it is not the same river and you are not the same man. This saying by a Greek philosopher just highlights the fact that change is a constant, and change is always happening around us, and that change is as a result of design. And if we do not change and innovate, then we will be consigned to the scrapbook of history. And there are many examples to prove that. Kodak, which was once the leader in photography, is no longer around because they did not change to the digital era. And this is all the more strange considering that the first digital camera was invented by a Kodak engineer, but they didn't change, although that design was there. Similarly, Nokia, once the leader in mobiles, did not change, did not innovate, did not design, and they were again overtaken by other players, and nobody hears about them anymore. Coming closer home, HMT, Hindustan Machine Tools, once the leaders in watches, and I'm wearing an HMT watch which is 39 years old. So I have been Atmanirbhar since then. The HMT, the timekeepers of the nation, what an irony that the timekeepers of the nation could not keep pace with the times, and they're nowhere to be heard of. So that just goes to show that design and innovation and change is the order of the day. And when we think of that, we must also realize that change is exponential. It happens very fast. If you take the example of powered flight, it took years and years to be able to succeed. And in 1903, the first powered heavier than air flight by the Wright brothers lasted a mere 12 seconds and covered some 200-300 feet. But the wars in between and other events acted as a catalyst for this development. And in less than 27 years, you had the first transatlantic flight, which lasted more than 30 hours and covered more than 3,000 miles. That is how fast the change happened. And it is not only in this field, but in all fields, change is exponential. And wars and conflicts have only been harbingers of this change. They've introduced new ideas and brought about this change much faster. But it is not as if this change is only because of wars and that they have only military applications. The V1 and V2 rockets developed by the Germans towards the end of World War II were actually the precursors of any space program. It is the same technology, the same rockets, which were then used to launch vehicles into space, your satellites, and so on. And therefore, there is always going to be a lot of civil-military fusion in whatever developments take place. And that is something that we ought to keep in mind, that what we do even if it is in one field, could be having effects in the other. And this kind of design, though it complements our military capability, has also got fallouts in the civil sphere for the population at large. And there are a lot of second and third order effects which come out of it. As you would also appreciate, and you all must have been told, that designing is not only about products, but designing is also about processes, how we do things, and can we do it in a better manner? Can you sequence a thing in a better manner? And in this, the challenge is 4 Ds, that is discover, define, and once you've discovered what is required to be done and defined the problem, thereafter to develop the solution and deliver it to where it is required. So these 4 Ds are, I think, something that all of us need to keep in mind whenever we are approaching or trying to tackle any problem. And these solutions could be quite simple. It might sound very naive or very silly at times. But just think about stackable items, chairs that can be stacked one on top of the other. It is a very small design change, but look how much difference it makes. So every time it doesn't have to be a very profound change, but a small stackable solution like this has got far-reaching effects. And especially in the army or the armed forces, it has an effect on our operational logistics. If something is modular, if something can be stacked up, it increases the numbers of that item that we can carry, whether it is in an aircraft or in a truck. It reduces our operational load. It reduces the area or the number of barracks or bunkers that we require to store that particular item, and so on and so forth. So these are the kind of things that you have to keep in mind whenever you are approaching all these things. There is another exhaustive work which I would recommend that you read by an author, Victor Margolin, called The World History of Design. And in this he says design has 2 components, a small d and a capital D. The small d is about products, the small things that we develop which meets our immediate user requirements. And there is a capital D, and that is what is associated with mass production and communication. While both are important, I think you can realize for yourself which is the more important D, whether it is the small d or the capital D. And I think it is the capital D which makes a much larger difference, especially when it proliferates or flows down to the industry. And this is one of the aspects that Jaguar kept in mind. When they were flooded with a lot of orders and there was a long waiting list, they realized that they would not be able to keep up with that demand unless they do something different. And that different was not making a new car. That was not the design. That was the small d. But what they changed was the big D. They changed the way the shop floor was organized. They went in for lean management and many other such changes. And because of that, they were able to ramp up production. Everything else was the same. The car was the same, the factory was the same, machines were the same. But just by virtue of changing their processes, they were able to increase their output. Some of these design solutions have a very interesting history. I will take you to the QWERTY keyboard. I wonder how many of y'all have operated a manual typewriter. Any show of hands? Of course, the first row, obviously. Typing on those manual typewriters was actually quite an effort. You had to press the keys quite hard before it went and struck the roller and the paper which was on it. But what also used to happen is the keys used to get stuck one on the other. So when Remington was devising the earliest typewriters way back in 1874, And when this problem of the keys getting stuck, which also depended on the speed of the typist. If he typed too fast, the keys would get stuck that much more often. So what was the solution that they found? That they rearranged the keys. And the keys which were used more often were kept in harder to get places, or would come back quicker before the next key would go and strike. And that is how we came up with the QWERTY keyboard. Many of you all might be wondering why this complicated thing, why couldn't it just have been A, B, C, D, E, F? But it had a history. But we have been continuing with that QWERTY keyboard today, when it actually doesn't make any more sense. Your smartphone is not QWERTY, and I've seen people typing at full speed with 2 thumbs. Is it time for change? Is it another thing which you all can apply to your minds too, a new design? Or do we need to keep following that old thing mindlessly for years on end? These are some of the things that we have to apply ourselves to. As I said right in the beginning, change has to be done all the time. And drawing a parallel here to army system would be also very informative. I spoke about the first aircraft that was a biplane. It had 2 wings strung together with wires. See where we have reached today. The aircraft of today does not resemble anything of the aircraft of 1903, and just 100 years later. You see ships. We've gone from rowing boats to sail ships to the modern warships that we have today. So that is the kind of change that is happening. But on the other hand, look at the tank. I can't see a photo of a tank here, but yeah, there's one. No, there isn't. But the tank has essentially remained the same for the last 60, 70 years. It had a hull, it had a caterpillar track, and it had a gun on top. If you see a tank of First World War, 1914-18, when it first came out, and you see a tank today, it looks almost the same. Do we need a design change? Can we think of something radically different, which is unique to us? We have recently embarked on a program for our future-ready combat vehicle and the future infantry combat vehicle, that is our future tank and the future armored personnel carrier, which form the mainstay of our mechanized forces. Both these are at the conceptualization stage. We have just asked for ideas. Perhaps you all can also participate in this challenge. How can we make a tank which is radically different from what we have been used to? Because what we design today and which will get productionized maybe 5-6 years' time will then be in operation for another 50 years. So when you're designing something today, you have to see where it will be 50 years from now. And it has to be as effective then as the day you're designing it now. Only then will it actually meet our requirements. But the requirements of the modern day battlefield are very daunting and diverse. And designing a system that fits everything all in one. Not only is it daunting, but sometimes it also becomes a non-starter and impractical to be achieved. And therefore in designing, not only for the army or the armed forces, but for anything else, you must keep these aspects of vital, essential and desirable in mind. VED. And for this, take the example of the bell curve. The middle portion accounts for about 65 to 70%, 68% to be precise. That is the vital part. You can't do without it. The next 20-25%, the next deviation, is the essential part. And then there are the outliers, which are only 5-6%. So if you take in the vital and the essential, that will actually account for 90 to 95% of what you want. That other 5%, which is the desirable part, really need not come right at the initial stages itself. Can always happen later on. So if this aspect is kept in mind, I think we will be able to do much better. To put this into perspective, I would like to take an example, a very common item which is in daily use in the armed forces, and that is your truck. A truck has to operate from the plains, from the Rann of Kutch area to deserts, plains of Punjab, to the low hills in J&K, right up to the mighty Himalayas, the high altitude areas with rarefied atmosphere. But it is the same truck. But do we need all the features in this truck that it should be able to do all the jobs right from mean sea level to high altitude? Or should we look at that vital, that middle portion, that 68-70%, which actually is going to be used every day? And that balance 4-5%, the add-ons. The add-ons which make it suitable for operating in deserts, and you take that off and put different add-ons which will make it suitable for operating in the high altitude regions. But if you try to do something which is going to, and you make a requirement that it should work from plus 40 degrees in deserts to minus 40 degrees in mountains, it will not happen. But that is the kind of designing we try to attempt, and obviously, I think we do not succeed. So see what is going to be the requirement on a day-to-day basis. I'm sure a number of you all have very fancy mobiles and SUVs with 4x4 drive. But just think for yourselves for a minute, how often have you used those features? Rarely, but you have paid a bomb to buy it. And the same thing happens to us, that we pay a bomb to buy things which we don't use on a day-to-day basis. And ignoring this bell curve also brings in an unattended consequence. In trying to do everything, plus 40 to minus 40, we try to get the best. And there is a saying that the enemy of good is best. In trying to get that all-in-one solution, you end up getting nothing. It would be better to concentrate on that vital and essential part. Develop a model 1. Field it. Understand what are its shortcomings, what are the improvements required, and then go on to a model 2, and so on. And I think for this, there can be no better example than our Windows software. You had a Windows version 1. It was not ideal. It had its glitches, it had its bugs, but they were, the software patches came, they were overcome. When the patches became too many, you came up with a version 2, and so on and so forth. And today, we are at Microsoft 11, Windows 11. See how much change has happened over the last 2 decades. I think that is the model that we have to follow. If Microsoft had waited to make the perfect solution, I think they would have still been making that perfect solution today. So we have to go in for this model of spiral development, without which we will not be able to proceed. We keep talking about drones and UAVs. We had not heard of it till 5-6 years back. And today all that people are talking about is drones and UAVs. But it is not as if we have reached the ideal solution. It is still under development. It is still going on. But as the army or the armed forces, we are not looking at these high-tech solutions. They are very much required, but there is a very large playing field. We are also looking at developments in many other areas. For example, we still don't have a portable system which can give us potable water in inaccessible areas. Such a simple thing, water, drinking water. But we still don't have anything for that. And we spend copious amounts of money in transporting potable water from wherever the water point is in tankers to our forward areas. How nice it would be if we had a small suitcase sized or table sized something which I could put on my post at 15, 16,000 feet and he could get his water right there. Such a simple thing, but we don't have it. So the field is large. It can be from a very high-tech, advanced weapon system to something as simple as a portable water plant. So there is an entire bandwidth available which we have to explore. But that is where we are today. What does the future hold for us as far as design and innovation is concerned in the field of defense and aerospace? In this, I think there are two things we have to concentrate upon. And I say this, that one, the future is electric. Not only in electric as electricity, but the future is electric in the way things are going to change. I think the government of India has made it quite clear what is the roadmap ahead as far as EVs are concerned. And that is one field that we need to concentrate on. And I have no doubt in my mind that as we go ahead, more and more electricity-based, I will not just vehicles alone, but electricity-based things will come up, which are not dependent on fossil fuel. Even your generators, we run thousands of generators in our forward areas, because there is no electricity supply there. But each generator requires its fuel. To transport that fuel, you require vehicles. That has its costs. So to generate 1 unit of electricity in the forward areas is 10, 15 times what it costs in peace. Can we have some alternate which can generate electricity in forward areas not dependent on fossil fuel? So as I say, the future is electric, and again, there is a vast arena in which we have to go. The future is also in miniaturization. We have already come a long way from the supercomputers of yore, which required possibly a room of this size, to our laptops. But there is still a lot of work which can be done in the field of miniaturization, packing more and more into less and less. And that is of particular importance to the armed forces, because we cannot afford to have large platforms, or the size of our platforms are limited. The size of our ships, the size of our aircraft have to be small by necessity. And in that small space, you have to pack more and more features. And therefore, miniaturization is one area in which we have to proceed. And as we go ahead into this development, I would again like to leave a thought with you that our development has to be far-sighted. It cannot be an incremental approach. As I mentioned recently, just a while ago, about our tank has remained essentially the same. Only it has become a bit bigger. Instead of having a small gun on it, it's got a bigger gun. It maybe had a 105, now it has got a 125. The armor protection was 400 mm, it has now become 600 mm, and so on. Very small, minor changes. When we now talk of design and innovation, we have to leapfrog, jump 2-3 steps ahead. And from a caterpillar, we have to transform into a butterfly, and not a bigger and juicier caterpillar. That is the kind of innovation and design that we are looking at. But what are we doing to make all this possible? We have in the Indian Army, 3-4 years ago, started an Army Design Bureau, ADB, and General Johar is here, who is heading that. And I think later, as part of the Design Week, General Channan would also be addressing you, who was the founder of the Army Design Bureau. But contrary to its name, the Army Design Bureau doesn't design anything. But they're just the facilitators between the designers and the army. They're the interface. They're the one-point contact. Anybody who's wanting to do anything, who has some idea, this is a place to contact, and the ADB will facilitate all that you need to do. You want to get an equipment, you want to see what a tank looks like. We will take you there. You have developed a prototype, but that prototype has to be mounted on a system. We will help you mount that on that system to see whether it works. If it has to be tried out, wherever it might be, whether in plains, deserts, high altitude, snow, jungles, we will take you there. We will make it happen. But we need your help to make ourselves into a strong army. And these visits to field areas actually go a long way in ensuring that the user requirements and necessity is understood by those who are actually in the labs, in our various IITs, our academia, that what is our requirement. After all, sitting here in a hall like this, you couldn't possibly dream what is our requirement in field, face to face with the enemy. And to that end, we also have a number of MOUs with our IITs, academia. In fact, we have a MOU with BIZAG, we have a MOU with RRU, both of which are Ahmedabad based. And we have been helping them out wherever required. My last visit to Ahmedabad, when I had gone to BIZAG, where a lot of their students are developing many products for us, including software. And I asked them, but do you know where does this go? They were not knowing that. Where does it actually go? Who is the user who's using it? What is the conditions under which he is using it? All these things were not known to them. But with the help of the division here and the brigade here, we sent them to some of our units in the forward areas. And they came back very enthused that one, they knew what the problem was, and two, they actually saw where their products were being put to use. So it helped out in more than one way. We also have many schemes being undertaken by the Army. One of them is the IDEX, that is Innovation in Defense Excellence. And the second, under the aegis of the DRDO, is the Technology Development Fund. Under both these schemes, we provide a certain amount of support to these startups and MSMEs. We give some challenges. This is the challenge. Can you develop something which will work, which will overcome this problem that we have? We issue out problem statements and we fund it. Because we also understand that many of these startups, MSMEs probably working in small sheds and garages don't have that kind of backing, financial backing. We fund it. And I'm glad to say that this has borne fruit. We have 26 projects through the IDEX, and which are helping 33 startups. And some of the things which have borne fruit and are under trial evaluation right now is see-through armor, counter-drone jammers, unmanned surface vehicles, AI-based satellite image analytics, and loiter munitions. And these are the final stages of evaluation, and I'm very sure that moment they're tried and tested in the forward areas, it will result in supply orders going to them. And the supply orders, and I can assure all of you all that it is not that it only goes to big companies. The last order which we placed for unmanned aerial vehicles, UAVs, went to a firm called Idea Forge, which is a startup. And it beat established players like Tata's in their product and in their evaluation. So it has really enthused the industry and especially these startups on how to go ahead. We recently also organized a hackathon under the aegis of our military college of telecommunication engineering, which is based at Mao. They had been given hacking challenges, and the first prize went to a young lad from Indore. The second prize came to an army chap. But that is the kind of outreach that we are doing with the academia, with the industry, to make sure that these things happen. As far as the army is concerned, but the government is also contributing a lot to design and innovation. In the recent budget, 25% of the defense R&D budget has been specifically earmarked for private industry. And I think this is first of its kind initiative by the government, once again to catalyze R&D in the civil arena. And also 68% of whatever we buy, Army, Navy, Air Force, the orders will go to indigenous companies, to our own companies. But let me also tell you that we are far ahead of this target. As far as the army is concerned, 85% of whatever we buy is Indian. But don't let the PM hear that, otherwise he'll revise the targets. Side by side, defense corridors have also been set up. We have a defense corridor in Chennai, we have a defense corridor in Lucknow, and these also have contributed to changing the entire ecosystem as far as the defense industry is concerned. And I'm sanguine that with all these things in place and putting all our minds together, the young entrepreneurs, the designers, the assistance that the army is giving, the various initiatives of the government, when all these three things come together, I think we will give you the opportunity, you all give us the solutions. And with those solutions, we as a nation, we will fight and win tomorrow's wars with Indian equipment. I will end by this quote, which was only made yesterday by our Honorable Prime Minister. And I quote, "The basic principle of security is that you should have your own customized and unique solutions. Uniqueness and surprise element, this can happen only if the equipment is developed in your own country." Our Honorable PM made these remarks while addressing a Ministry of Defense webinar on Atmanirbharta in defense only yesterday. And I think that is the way forward. And I mentioned earlier that we have to have a unique solution as far as our future tank is concerned. In the end, I would like to thank the Karnavati University for having given me this opportunity to speak to you all. I think it has been a real pleasure to be able to have come and shared my views on what we are looking for as far as the armed forces and specifically the army is concerned. And I wish you all the best in your designing endeavors. Thank you. In case there are any questions, you're most welcome to ask.
General Saab, we have a collection of questions. If you're okay with it, can I read it out to you?
Yeah,
Because we asked the students to
okay.
quickly give it to save time.
Yeah.
Because we were told you'll have to rush. So can I just give it to you in random order? Awesome. Thank you so much. The first question, again, these are students who've written these questions. So, sir, we'll have to, there's a limitation. I'm so sorry. The first thing, sir, is what are the steps that the armed forces are taking to counter emerging threats of cyber warfare and associated domains?
Since I was more focusing on the design aspects, I didn't talk about the threats and challenges facing the armed forces. But the threats that we face are not only in the kinetic domain, but also in the more non-traditional domains which are emerging of space, cyber, and so on. And as far as dealing with the cyber threat is concerned, we have only recently started the Defense Cyber Agency, DCYA, and we also, which is under the headquarter Integrated Defense Staff, headquarter IDS, and we also have our individual service cyber agencies which are looking into this aspect. So let me assure you that we are not in any way behind as far as dealing with this cyber threat is concerned.
Right. The other question you pretty much addressed in your talk, but I'll still push my luck. What are the expectations from the young startups, by the Indian Army? Because in Gujarat, which is the epicenter of a lot of entrepreneurial spirit, what is the one thing that the Indian Army would expect from indigenous designs, local startups, sir?
Yes, as you said, I think I covered most of it in my talk, but yes, two things which I would like to re-emphasize. One is the bandwidth is large, from high-tech to low-tech. So the number of players who can, we should not think that it is a crowded playing field and nobody can get into it. There's a lot which can be done, and not only in the army, but the armed forces. So army, navy, air force combined, there's a lot which needs to be done. But before you can do that, I think what is also required is to acquire knowledge of the armed forces. Because unless you have that knowledge, you will not really be able to apply yourselves to what is the requirement, what is the user's requirement, what is the end product that is required. So once that knowledge base is established, then I think you will be able to contribute much more efficiently and effectively to make sure that our dream of Atmanirbhar Bharat is realized.
Can I ask one more question? Again, it's from this sheet. It says that a lot of people, there are a lot of initiatives undertaken and policies formulated encouraging youth, to access information from the army and create things that will help them. However, this information does remain a challenge. So I'm sure this has come from someone who's attempted many times, General Sir, to reach out and get some information. How can this information gap be improved? That's the question.
Well, I will be the first to admit that we have been a little remiss in this regard, and the armed forces, due to various reasons and under this overarching thing of security, were very loath to share any information with anyone. But we have realized that unless we share with you all what are our problems, how will you all know what is the solution that we are looking at? And it is for that reason that we started this Army Design Bureau. And I'm happy to say that a lot of people are coming to us. And they're even coming to us with solutions, and which we take suo moto note of. And if we like that idea, we take it forward. So we have the Design Bureau, which is our single point contact. And if anybody wants any information or assistance from us, they're the place to go to. He's the man.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you for that, because I hope you understand there are a lot of reasons, including time and security, and that's why to hurry it up, we just put whatever questions made sense. Ladies and gentlemen, one more round, a huge round of applause for all our amazing, distinguished guests. And of course, General Sir, there's this one thing I was told specifically to say, that we thought of a long, lovely ending for you, but considering what's happening across the global crisis, if all of us right now are sitting with our families feeling safe, I think it's a huge round of thank you to each one of you here. One of the finest armies of the world. So other than a very humble thank you, I don't know what to say, on behalf of everybody. A symbolic beginning to the Ahmedabad Design Week 3.0. I request all our distinguished guests to kindly go down and ring the big bell to mark the beginning of Ahmedabad Design Week 3.0. Ladies and gentlemen, taaliyan bajti rehni chahiye. Ritesh sir, VC sir, Dr. Deepak Shishu, former VC Karnavati University, Rutvij bhai. Let's keep the claps going. Yeah, yeah. Come on, we can do this. UID, KU, come on. We just have a few moments more. If the dignitaries can kindly come back on stage. And without further delay, I'd like to call our VC sir, Dr. Suryavanshi, to deliver the vote of thanks. We can clap one more time because the Ahmedabad Design Week is formally open now, ladies and gentlemen.
अग्रे सरत सर्वदा राष्ट्र हिताय सेवा परमो dharma. Forward ever, and this motto comes from National Defence Academy, that is Seva Parmo Dharma. Very good morning to all of you. On behalf of our Board of Trustees, Board of Management members, our Chancellor President Shri Ritesh Hada, and all the faculty, staff and lovely students sitting here, on everybody's behalf, all hands at Karnavati University, it's my honor to render a vote of thanks to most respected Honorable General M.M. Naravne sir, General M.M. Naravne, PVSM, AVSM, SM, VSM, ADC, Chief of the Army Staff. Sir, your coming here not only has motivated the entire youth of this university, but I am sure the message has gone to the entire country that all of us need to awaken. You mentioned about, sir, design process, a system design process, and also you talk about overarching the activities that we can do. Sir, I'm sure this is a motivation that all of us have taken. I also would like to mention here that the nation to become India, to be a strong India, efficient India, intelligent India, and awakened India. Now, a strong India comes from you, sir. So thank you so much, sir. And what we said about the intelligent India, that's our role, the academic. And I think we are doing it, but we need to do more. The third aspect comes from efficient India. That comes from the bureaucracy. There are friends from bureaucracy here. It comes from them. And an awakened India. That's entire social responsibility that we all take. Sir, on behalf of everyone, my heartfelt thanks to you, sir, for gracing this occasion and sparing valuable time for us. We are grateful to you, sir. On behalf of the university, it's my honor again to render my vote of thanks to Air Marshal Ravindra Kumar Dheer, PVSM, AVSM, VM, ADC, Advisor to Gujarat State for Defence and Aerospace. So thank you so much. I have met you on several occasions, and every meeting always excites me for another meeting. And whenever I go to him, he will leave a message at the Secretariat gate so that I have very smooth entry to his office. He has already connected me to Gujarat ecosystem of defence manufacturers. So very, very heartfelt thanks to you, sir. You also mentioned about rejuvenating Gujarat as a state, and we say Garvi Gujarat, Gaurvanvit Gujarat, Gaurvanvit Bharat. In that, so thank you so much, sir. On behalf of university, we are grateful to you, sir. I will fail in my duty if I do not put my vote of thanks to the glamour of India, Shri Prahlad Kakkarji. Thank you, sir. A veteran ad filmmaker, a media professional, basically a most glamorous man. And whenever I find this word, a beautiful man, I look at Prahlad Kakkarji. Thank you, sir, for gracing this occasion and motivating the crowd. Our heartfelt thanks goes to Shri Kamal Kishore Hadaji. Sir, the peace of the university comes from you. The motivation from the university comes from you. Whenever we are rushing very fast and we look at you, we stop and pause and think that is it the Board of Trustees want from the academic staff? Thank you, sir, for your calm motivation all the time. And my immense thanks to Shri Anil Agrawalji from DA Group, the founder of DA Group. Anil Agrawalji is a veteran into not only media but all the social sector. He is a philanthropist and a great man, sir. Every time you come at our call and meet our students, so thank you so much for gracing this occasion also, for motivating all of us. I will fail in my duty if I don't thank the friends from media, friends from bureaucracy, all the bureaucrat staff who are here, also from the police personnel, our own staff, General Johar, sitting here, General Jaswal, and please forgive me if I forget many names, but all the people present here, we on the behalf of university, we want to only say that you have not only given us this day, but you have also inspired us to live many, many days, many, many years, many, many lives, not to see that life, how long it is, but how meaningful it becomes. Once again, heartfelt thanks to all of you. Have a great day. Jai Hind.
Thank you so much, and a little bit of a surprise at the end, which we weren't expecting. But I would now request Sri Ritesh Hara sir, President Karnavati, to come on stage because there is a memento from the Indian Army for the Ahmedabad Design Week team and Karnavati University. So, ladies and gentlemen, I request Sri Ritesh Hara to kindly come on stage and receive the memento from General M.M. Narwane sir. Ladies and gentlemen, this is all the hard work. Ahmedabad Design Week, here is to you. Woo! Thank you once
This
again.
is for all you guys. It's all your hard work. I get all the applause. Thank you.
This is going to be extremely memorable. Thank you so much. Gentlemen, it's been an absolute pleasure and honor. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you. Thank you, sir. For the audience members, we are meeting at 1:15 sharp, where we start with the first session of the Ahmedabad Design Week 3.0. 1:15 sharp, especially students. We see you at 1:15 sharp.